Hello everyone, so apparently I haven't done an update in quite a while, so I just thought I'd do a super quick update. I'll try and keep it under 10 minutes here and let everybody know how everything is going. So if everybody recalls, I'm still volunteering at the health center here every day of the work week. So Monday to Friday, every morning I just walk over, it's like a 2-minute walk, if that, over to the health center, and it's been pretty interesting. People have really started to sort of, get used to me being there, and, I'm pretty much the only white person there, but it's been very interesting. I've been spending a lot of time with the EMT and, just different situations, people getting their wounds cleaned, people having to be driven to David, I don't know, people with super high blood pressure, stuff like that. So anyways, it's really interesting. And then I've also gotten to spend quite a bit of time with a different sets of nurses. One of them in particular, which is the vaccination nurse. And it's very interesting because the kids here, the parents bring their kids quite a bit here on a very regular basis to get all their vaccines, but it's so sad because these kids come in here and they don't even know what's coming. They're just like, oh, it's so pretty, and there's little pictures on the walls, and the nurse is all in white with her little nurse cap, and she's just kind of unique as opposed to everybody else that's just walking on the streets, and they're kind of entertained, and then suddenly they're being held down. There's a certain way that the mother has to hold the kid with one arm behind here, and then the other, this hand kind of like holding the baby down and their arm down, and then this hand like holding their knees down so they can get all their vaccines and the thighs. And oh my gosh, these kids, they're like, oh, something's happening, and suddenly the pain hits, and they're just like, wah! So unfortunately, as interesting as it is to see all the vaccinations and the different types of needles and the different vaccines and the whole sterile process, it's sad that every kid leaves that room crying. So anyways, it is what it is, but it is pretty interesting, and I've been learning quite a bit about, the side effects of vaccines and why they're given, how to administer them. Not that I do any of that, but anyways, and then the different types of needles, and just the process is very good. It's actually a little better than I thought it would be, but yeah, it's just kind of interesting, like you take a sterile cotton swab, you put alcohol on it, you wipe the actual vaccine bottle first, and then open a sterile needle. You take the needle part of it off and open another sterile needle, which is bigger, and put that through, extract the medication, and then discard that needle tip and twist it back into the original sterile tip, and then sterilize the skin real quick, and then do the vaccine and all that. So anyways, it's quite the process. It's very interesting. I learned how to read all the gauges of the vaccines, the sizes and of the needles and all of that, depending on where you need to administer them, whether they're in the first or second layer of the skin or in the deep muscle tissue, and when to do it at 90 degrees, 45 degrees, or 15 degrees, different applications. So it's just been very interesting. I've also been job shadowing another nurse who is for stimulation and growth, and this nurse is the expert in getting babies moving and stuff. And this is something I never noticed about Canada, or actually Serbia either, but this woman like takes a baby and she does stretches with the baby. So first she actually takes the baby and puts it on a changing table to see if it can crawl or anything like that. And usually, they're kind of just like blah. But what's it called? Then she does these stretches, just takes the legs and does kind of knee ups, while they're laying on their back, and then knees up and out and down, and then the arms, you know, sideways, and the shoulder while holding the shoulder. She does that, and then little neck stretches and little ab stretches where you have the baby laying on their back and their feet against you, and then you kind of pull them up a few times, and sure enough, literally after 5 minutes of doing this, the stretches, you put them on their stomach again, and like they can hold their head up better. And we're talking of like 2-month-old babies, right? We have a 5-month-old baby that's already like crawling, like he's able to, you know, use those muscles and go after the toy or whatever. So it's very interesting to see. It almost looks weird because, you know, this woman is like, oh, the baby is just like a noodle, and you just kind of like roll it around. It's no big deal. So anyways, it's definitely interesting. It's very fun. On Saturdays, I'm still volunteering at the what's it called? It's called La Fundación Pro Integración. And it's kind of like a weekly get-together for all these special needs kids and young adults and their parents or families. And it's pretty much just a chance for volunteers to interact with all the special needs people, and for the families to kind of have a break and, you know, socialize among themselves. So that's been really, really fun. You get to know some really cool people. I started to learn sign language, which is kind of cool. And like, for example, we learned continents. Oh, me gusta, which means that I like. You go like this and then pull it away from you. And nombre, which is your name. Now I forget. Ella is E-L-A, right? And then my sign, because you do it with the start of your name, so E. And then you do a smiley face. That's my nickname, right? So anyways, it's been really fun. Other than that, there's little tiny projects that I've picked up along the way, mainly for the recycling center. One of our other volunteers here, she volunteers at the recycling center quite a bit. So she kind of asked me to draw up some pictures for one of her posters, and they need a website redone, so I'll be taking that on. And one of their daughters is making like a styrofoam dress, and it has to be Katy Perry inspired. So I'm gonna head over there tomorrow and try and help out with that. So anyways, it's good. It's a very good blend of, you know, the scientific stuff, and then all the people stuff, and then the creative stuff. So it's been really fun. Other than that, for leisure, what have we done? We've done a few hikes. There's been the La Pianista hike, which is by far my favorite so far. And we actually went with a guide that one of our volunteers got to know. So anyways, he took us, and it was just so cool. It was like, first of all, you cross a river on this little like one ledge, like an iron type beam across the river, and you hang on to this rope that I don't even know how they made. But anyways, so you cross across a creek, and then you're walking along this fenced path, which is, it kind of looks like a 4x4 path, but on either side is like Mary Poppins type of meadows. And then you get into the forest, and it's like pine trees, and then there's a bunch of mud, and then suddenly your path becomes an actual creek. And because there's these large rocks on either side of you, you can't really go anywhere else. You have to walk through the like little creek path. And then the coolest thing, I mean, you come across an actual the creek where the river starts. And it's fresh water. It's as spring water as spring water gets. So, you know, you refill your bottle, and it's, oh my god, it's just the tastiest water I've ever had. And yeah, and then you keep going up the path, and then there's like 7-foot rocks just covered in moss, and you know, there's like funky little flowers everywhere, vines off of all the trees. And anyways, you make it to the top of the mountain, and you can see like all the jungles around you, and Boquete, you can see a little bit of Boquete as well. So it was definitely cool. We also ended up doing another hike the weekend after, or the weekend after that, Anyways, it was called the Lost Waterfall Hikes, or the pipeline hike. And that was $3 to get in because it's on private property, but they actually maintain the trail. But even though they maintain it, because it's still very watery and very moist, there was a lot of mud, and they kind of build these makeshift like railings from wood, but anyways, you're literally like hoisting yourself up with every step, and each step, I mean, it could be like up to here. It's like huge, right? It's not like little steps all over the place. You're like kind of hoisting yourself by trees, by boulders, like everything. It's so cool. And anyways, there's 3 hikes. You see one of them, you go over, you see another one, and then you see another little swimming hole, and then you get to the 3rd one, and the 3rd one now the path ends, and there's like a path with like this huge boulder, maybe about 7-foot boulder, right? And it's got tree roots growing along one side of it, so you're like, should you go up there, should you not, right? Because you're not quite close enough to the waterfall. So anyways, and then we actually ended up skipping across the creek and going across all the boulders, and then going back up across the creek, across some bigger boulders, and then finally we got to the waterfall, which that's what my profile picture on Facebook is right now. So it's so cool. I mean, just to be in there, and you can like kind of hike right up to the waterfall. It's just so cool. And I mean, there's like huge rocks, just like it almost feels like from this waterfall going down and the mist that's going around, it has eroded this bubble in a rock pretty much. So you're just like there, and it's all this moss and vines. It's just so cool. So other than that, another little thing that we did, our volunteer coordinators actually took us last weekend to this secret little place, and it was kind of like you park on a road, or beside the road, I guess, and there's like this, it's not even really a path. You're like, oh, this is an accidental no grass area, right? So you just go in there, and then suddenly there's like this slight path along this creek. And the creek is just full of big boulders, and there's big boulders all around you. So anyways, you're kind of walking along there, and then there's these huge boulders, and they're like just side by side. So you kind of have to go in between, like you're literally like crouching, and you go in between them. And on the other side, you get on and then do some more boulders, and then suddenly there's like this pool, like a swimming pool where the creek sort of is, like, anyways, and you can like jump in, dive in, whatever, and you swim around. And then if you swim right across the little like swimming hole, you get to these rock layers that are flat at the top, but they're slanted, right? And they're all about 1 meter thick. So you are still kind of like hoisting yourself up, but you get up top. There's maybe like 2-3 layers, and then suddenly there's like another swimming hole and a waterfall, maybe like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 meters high. And you can actually, if you're keen on it, you can actually climb your way up the side of the cliff there and then jump in, but you really have to like push yourself away and jump. So one of our volunteers coordinator did that, but it was just so cool to be swimming in there, and the water was like all kind of greenish, bluish, and it was again like the same kind of thing, just like a bubble of the rock was just like eroded away. So it was like trees hanging over and vines, and there was moss everywhere. It was just so cool. So anyways, and then another really cool thing that I did was there's a place, Gualaca, and got to do some cliff jumping type thing. And it's this, again, like just rock formation, and the river, the creek, has eroded so much of it, but in a very narrow space. So when the water level was low, I think I jumped maybe about 7 feet, which, if anybody knows me, I'm very afraid of heights, and it was a huge deal. But the friends of ours that took us, John and Jan, they were super patient with me, and I kind of asked John, I'm like, oh, do you mind jumping with me? He's like, oh yeah, sure. So we went to this ledge, and then of course it took me like an extra 15-20 minutes to actually jump, because I was like shaking, and I don't know if I'm gonna exhale and then not have the air to keep me going until I get back to the surface, or what's gonna happen. And John is just like, take your time, it's okay. So finally I'm like, okay, we gotta go. Ready, set, go. I just jumped. So anyways, it was really cool, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing that again, because I think it's gonna be fun, and I'm gonna find a slightly taller ledge to jump off of. But anyways, the water there was like super light blue, kind of like Lake Louise, and just like you just jump in, and it was just so cool. And then of course you gotta float all the way down and then climb back up and then walk back. So anyways, it was really cool. Everything is going really good. I'm definitely loving Panama. It's just so green, so nice, so many cool nature things to do. People here are very nice, very friendly, and of course, me being a white person with, especially a girl with short hair, people definitely remember you, so it's kind of interesting, but yeah, it's very cool. So anyways, those are my updates. I'm getting kind of excited to come back home, kind of excited to go back to Europe. Actually, I'm very excited to go to Europe. I'm very excited to go back to school. Just so many things happening, and it's also good. So anyways, hopefully everybody over there is doing good. I'll try and do more updates a little more often than, like a month. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.